Welcome to the Whitetail Obsession Podcast with Dave Richmond and co-host Chris Worthing, where we talk and teach everything deer and turkey hunting related. Follow along as we help teach you tips and techniques about hunting, food plots, and habitat management strategies that everyone can use.
Podcast 109. Chris, it is colder than a witch's titty outside.
I'm telling you, I had
Tell everybody
negative.
what you had this morning.
I had negative 13 on the way to work this
Woo.
morning.
That is
Like,
cold.
it's spooky cold because, like, I started the car and to let it warm up before I left for work,
Mm-hmm.
and I can scroll through and see what my coolant temperature is on my dash, and I scrolled as soon as I started it up, and the coolant temperature was 1 degree.
What?
Yeah, it was 1 degree.
Crazy.
Yep. Luckily, antifreeze doesn't freeze unless it's really weak. But,
Weak
weak
like
like
you.
you. Weak like you after last weekend.
Oh man. Yeah,
Hey,
that was
what'd you
rough.
do last weekend? You was weak.
I worked 3 days on a habitat project, and usually, I just consult, but there are times where clients will ask me to, hey, I want you to do the work, and I'll do it. Most people like to do it themselves, but there are people that want it done for them. Cut trees, make bedding, travel, whatever it is. And I said yes, and hack and squirted probably over 1,000 trees and cut several hundred trees. And I did some edge feathering on some fields and just started some travel routes. Now the guy has to get some skid steer work done, and then once all that gets done, then I have to go back for probably 2 to 3 days to actually create the bedding areas. So he's got a long process, but I was uh, I was feeling it there for a little bit.
Big mistake. You're too old for this.
No, I'm just gearing up.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. What day is it?
It's Wednesday.
Trump Day.
It is Trump Day.
Woo!
New president.
New prez. I'm
Let it
excited.
let it begin.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
So,
Very excited. Now you done started it.
yeah.
Now we're gonna get unfollows.
Hate mail.
Hate mail.
Trump Day. What you
Um.
got? What you got? What do you
Well,
want to talk about?
this morning I wasn't as cold as you were. I was only 7 degrees here in Maryland.
Mm.
But that's still pretty cold. I also want to make a statement that Danner boots are the biggest piece of crap boots I've ever seen in my entire life. Do
Drama.
not do not buy Danner boots. So
Drama.
I
Drama.
had I had Danner boots on this client property that I was cutting on, and it was snow. It was snow on the ground. But dude, my boots were soaked within 2 hours of walking in the snow. And these boots were like almost $300. They supposedly are waterproof, with the sticker right on the boot, waterproof. And I mean, junk. I'm highly disappointed. I called Danner on Monday because I was so angry, and because I've only wore these boots like 10 times. I called Danner on Monday. I was so upset. I'm like, dude, I'm like, what's up with your boots? They're like, what do you mean? I said they're not water. Like, why put it? They're not. They're. I mean, it's not like it had like one spot that was leaking in. The entire boot was saturated. They're not waterproof. And he's like, well, sir, since the boot's over 2 years old, we can't do nothing for you, but I can assure you the boot's waterproof. I'm like, dude, you are high as a kite. They're not waterproof. I've worn them 10 times, but don't buy Danner boots. But today's podcast, now that you're done ranting, since it's so cold, you made a comment that yesterday was the first day that you didn't get a deer picture on your cell cams.
No picture.
And with it being really cold, my pictures have been limited, but I have an area I have one camera that I still get tons of pictures from when it's really cold,
Mm.
and we're going to go over that. So, um, what are some things people should do? That's what we're going to talk about. What are some things people should do right now when it's cold like this, and maybe some things not to do when it's really cold like this?
Oh,
And how does the deer survive? Because the first initial thought is, oh my God, it's cold. I have to go dump a bag of corn out to feed the deer.
I was gonna make a video about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot of videos about it, but that's probably the number one worst mistake you can do. The deer doesn't need your bag of corn. That's probably the worst thing you could possibly ever do.
Yeah.
So why don't you stir some drama up? What do you got? Spitball something here.
So just stay out of the woods. Period.
Yeah, stay out.
Anywhere you think there's gonna be a deer laying, do not go there.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're if you're in deer country, stay out of the woods at this point in time. It is so flipping cold out that they're gonna exert so much energy.
Hmm.
Not only that, but I have like 8 inches of snow here on the ground, so they're struggling as it is.
Almost as
You
tall as
know,
you.
ouch. They're struggling as it is. To to dig down and exert all that energy to eat.
Hmm. Right.
This is why deer survive in the wintertime on the whatever browses above ground. you
Hmm.
know now I see a ton of deer out there scratching, and the only reason why they're scratching right now is because underneath it is not frozen here. I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but we had a huge rainfall before all this snow hit.
Hmm.
Even as cold as it is, that snow has insulated the ground and it is still moist underneath.
Hmm.
So they are able still to dig. So that's why they are digging. Because
Well,
normally it freezes solid and they just give up on digging.
what important aspect to think about that there is
Yeah.
that deer know what to do.
Yeah.
They
They
know
sure do.
digging down there is soft enough for them to still get food and dig down and to get something. They
Yep.
know that. They know
This
they know what to do.
They're in survival mode right now.
Mhm.
Do not, like you said, do not, if they are not on a corn diet already,
Mhm.
if you're nowhere near ag or so, don't go to Tractor Supply and buy deer corn and throw it out there. That just shocks the system. Don't, you know, don't be a bleeding heart and go put out a hay bale or something like that. That will clog them up too.
Mhm.
And it's called what? Acidosis, right?
Mhm.
The rumen, they can't. It just plugs them up. They can't digest the stuff. They're not used to it. It shocks their system.
Plugs them up.
Plugs them up.
Yeah, and there's been many studies on that.
Sure.
Over the they do a lot of studies, and it's not necessary for you to go dump corn out. Now if you're feeding deer year round and you have a feeder and all that, they can they build up their microbes in the system and everything to be able to digest it, and it's not
Hmm.
a problem. But if you're
Right.
in a big woods area where there's no corn around, people aren't feeding, and such, and you just go down and dump a couple bags of corn down, you get all them deer sucked into that corn, and they just wolf it down. It's not good.
Not good at all.
Not good.
No.
So.
No. And referring back to the camera thing with
Hmm.
the limited amount of pictures. Uh, that being said, I don't have the cameras in like really thick areas where they would be like thermal protected. I have it on travel corridors and things. So
Hmm.
that's part of the reason why I'm not getting pictures. Now, you
Hmm.
mentioned like you're getting pictures. So I'm anxious to hear where your camera's at. It's probably somewhere thick, I would guess.
Yeah, so I told you I had two cameras, but actually I have three there left. Um, I have two on the
So
food
you lied to
plots.
me.
I did lie. I'm sorry. I have two on the food plots, which
Apology accepted.
um, I'm getting very little pictures there. I did get some today where they were out there. Looked like they were probably digging to get down to the food plot. But I have one camera way back in the back of the property, up high on a ridge, where I've done a lot of cuttings, hinge cutting, flush cutting. I did some hack and squirt up there. I've extended, made it huge. That's where I'm getting my pictures at. They're within that bedding area because you can see in my photos, you can see the browse above the snow level and just flush of deer into that area because you have trees down, the wind up top is more stable and things. And there's trees laying down, so they have that somewhat of a thermal protection there.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing with that is a lot of guys too will say, like pine areas and things are they're not really thermal protection. Cedar patches, they can be good thermal protection, but a lot of times what happens is I went to a client last year and he's like, "Hey man, I got this like 5 acre cedar patch way back in the back." He's like, "They bed in there. I want to." I'm like, "Really? Okay." He's like, "It's really good thermal protection up there." So I went back to this cedar area with him and we looked at it. I was like, "Dude, this is not thermal protection." He's like, "What do you mean?" I, that what happened was the cedars were so crowded together that at the tops and everything, from about 6 foot down, there was no green.
Mm.
Everything was dead
Mm-hmm.
from 6 foot down. And I explained it to him like, dude, we're at like squat down here. We're at a deer's level. Everything from 6 foot up down is dead because there's no sunlight getting to these bottom side of these cedars.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no thermal protection here. There's none. It needs to be thinned out and probably, ran a fire through there to really make it better. But after that I explained it to him, he understood it. There
Right.
is no thermal protection there. Now, cedars can be a good thermal protection, but they have to be properly thinned and appropriate to where you get sunlight in between the trees. So that bottom 6 foot or 8 foot, whatever it is, can still thrive. And that's where you get that thermal protection. You have areas of there's some areas there's a lot of holly trees in Maryland. In
Mm-hmm.
my area, Eastern Shore and stuff, there's a lot of holly trees. Those can be decent thermal protection, um, and things like that. But yeah, those cedars that are overcrowded, not thermal protection. Way up on my property in that bedding area, you get somewhat thermal protection, and that's where I've been getting the majority of my pictures from.
Huh.
And going out there and pressuring the deer and making them run through this cold like that, and especially the snow, and you're just exerting the deer. All they
Yeah.
want to do right now is they want to move very little. They're probably very close to a food source, hunkered down,
Yep.
out of the wind, and just conserving energy and calories right now.
Yeah. They're all on the edge of my neighbor's yard over here,
Hmm.
where he's feeding them.
Mm,
I see him every night, just hanging out between our houses,
hmm.
and it made me want to go drag the muzzle loader over there, but
Hmm.
can't do that.
When you come up your road
Mm-hmm.
on that right side, that's a
Yep.
swamp, right?
On my road or my mother-in-law's road.
No, the main road off your side street after the main road.
Okay, when you turn onto my road, there's
Yeah, on the very right. That's a swamp?
that is not. That's if you go back deep enough, it turns into swamp.
But
But
right there, it
back,
seems like would be very thick for the deer to bed.
it is thicker back in there because they haven't done anything to that property in years. It's just all growed up. But
Mhm,
if you go back to my destination plots and go behind Edgefield and down into that road, on the mother-in-law's road, that's all swamp down in there. And they love that. And they just timbered that 2 years ago.
mm.
And so it's all, all dense stuff, everything fell together. And yeah, they love it down in there because it
I
drops down it's cold down in there, but it doesn't get the wind. It's out of
Mhm.
the wind.
Right.
It's
And that's where
protected
they wanna
down.
be. They wanna
Yeah,
be out of that wind.
it's protected down in there, but from the wind.
Mhm.
So, you know, anytime anytime you uh, follow some deer tracks around, it seems like they all end up down there.
Mhm. I
So
have
it's
one question for you. With it being -13 or whatever it was this morning,
mhm.
did you walk out of your door and run to your truck with a glass of Swiss Miss?
I don't drink or eat anything in the morning.
We're never gonna let this go because your buddy Teddy finds it hilarious every time I comment Swiss Miss. He's laughing so hard
Yeah,
about it.
he sent me some meme about Swiss Miss,
Did he?
so I'm mad at him too.
We're not gonna let you live this down. Swiss Miss. It's
Swiss
so
Miss.
funny. Yeah.
That's dumb. You and
So
your
you're
coffee.
I do drink coffee every morning.
That's silly.
Gets me going.
Oh,
Um,
get you moving to the bathroom.
that's good. Good. You
Stupid.
gotta you gotta have a movement every day.
Oh God.
Um, on a serious note, um, how important is food above ground level right now? Like natural browse.
Well, it's always
How
important. It's important
how
all year.
it is, but how important is it even now?
Oh,
It's everything, right?
it's important.
Importanter.
Yeah.
Swiss misser.
Oh boy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you've got to have it, and that's a
yeah.
problem. That's one of the problems in the areas that I hunt, even
Mhm.
on the public land.
Mm.
The browse line is very high because for years we were overrun with deer, and
Mhm.
then they wiped them out,
Mhm.
and now they're back on the rebound, but the woods haven't rebounded yet,
Mm.
and so it's the browse line's pretty high,
Mm.
and that the only good thing about it is there's so much property around that the deer have to travel a bit to get it, but
They'll find it.
they'll find it. They can get to it.
Yeah, they'll herd up and they'll go in areas where there's food and stuff, but
Yep,
um
they'll move around, and that's another reason why you don't want to get out there and chase them around. They're
mhm.
already stressed.
Right.
They're on the move, they're trying to conserve energy. They've got that winter coat on, they got the hair all bristled up, you know. Uh they are out there digging, which like that totally blows my mind because that's got to be very stressful for them.
Yeah.
All that energy just standing there raking, because really you rake that all out deep, you rake through 8 inches of snow, you know, what are you really finding at the bottom?
Right.
There you should see my yard. The yard looks like there's been a skunk in there digging for grubs or something.
All the deer.
But the deer are out here digging up my yard, just eating the grass.
Yeah, on that property I was on this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I saw several areas within the 27 acres of timber I was working on where you could see the deer. I mean, we had like maybe 4 inches of snow. You could see several areas where they, had raked down and were bedded there and things. Different,
Mm.
not a bunch, but some. But yeah, I mean, I this time of year too, when food and everything is limited resources, don't forget, everybody listening is that deer will actually eat bark off trees. They'll eat bark off of trees and they'll eat dry leaves, pine needles off trees. Um, so I mean, there's over 700 different,
I was
things that deer eat.
I
So
was gonna
they,
mention, like, right now when they dig,
hmm
whatever is under there, they're eating.
oh
Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like,
hmm
I seen them pulling up ferns
hmm
and eating a whole fern, like, because in years past, used to tell people deer don't eat ferns, Well, I've been seeing instances now where they will. I mean, obviously it's not preferred,
yeah.
but if they exert the energy to dig down and it's green, they devour it right now.
Well, I mean, obviously it's not a preferred food source, but I mean,
No.
we've talked about a couple times where you'd seen the deer do that,
Yeah.
and the only thing that comes to my mind is that deer was lacking some sort of nutrient, and he knew to get it within that fern
I guess. I
because
mean,
they know what to do to
that's
kind of,
that's the
you
way
know,
they're built, you know?
yeah, they know what to do to kind of balance their diet.
Like me,
So
when I need a chocolate chip cookie, I just go get it.
I had one today for
I
dinner.
kn I know I need it, so I just go get it.
Yeah,
It's the way I'm built.
me too. They know what to do. Just like the old farm. Just think when I first got that and you came in there, I mean, I had trail cameras on the pine trees and deer
Mhm.
were eating pine needles,
Yeah.
you know, um, in the wintertime.
Mhm.
So they definitely know what to do, but the main thing is, you know, do not if it's not a normal thing, do not throw out bags of corn.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Leave the deer alone. You don't need to be out there looking for them. Just chill out. The hunting season's still going here in Maryland, but for
I
another
mean, I
week or so.
I got notifications that said I got dead batteries and cameras and things,
Mm,
but I'm not running out there to go get them.
yeah, just
Yeah,
let them
I'm
rest.
I'm gonna wait till the weekend when, it warms up,
Hmm.
and go during the middle of the day or something when I know I'm not gonna bump anything, and I'll go get the cameras then.
Yeah,
But, I'm not in any hurry to go get them. I mean, why
yeah.
should I be? And I'm afraid to run them off the plots because they're still coming to the plots,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah,
don't want to run them off, make a big deal about it.
yeah. Just let them do their thing, and you know, uh, a good a good project. If you have a field that you need to edge feather on, hinge cutting the trees out into the edge of the fields. That if you really want to help them out, edge feathering puts all them that woody browse that's 20 feet up, puts it at ground level. So deer will tear that up. If you have a large row against a field that you want to edge feather, like I did a lot of that this weekend.
Mm.
And the very first day I did that on Friday. Saturday I went back in, there was tracks all around
Mm.
the tops of the trees where they
Yeah,
were just eating the woody browse.
I did a video about that
Yeah,
last year. I went down here
I think I
below the
remember that.
house and I cut a bunch of trees down. And I
Mhm.
put a trail camera on it, and
Yep.
yeah, within 24 hours, I had deer
Mhm.
down there eating all the tips off of the branches and uh, sniffing the camera and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, not everybody can do that. I understand that,
it
but
didn't even take that long. It was like 12 or 13 hours or something. They were there.
yeah, um, that that right there is way more beneficial than a bag of corn.
Mm,
So, um, and you're not going to hurt anything doing that. A bag of corn you can do more harm than good.
mm,
So
yeah.
just think about that before. Deer don't need our help. They didn't need our help years ago, and they don't need our help now. They're going to travel to areas where they know where they kind of winter. You know, um, and where they have adequate food. They're not moving much, and before you know it, the cold snap will be over, and it'll be back up into the 40s. Like here this weekend, you know, I think Thursday it starts to kind of get warmer a little bit. This weekend's supposed to be like 48 degrees,
Mm,
so they'll be up moving, and they'll be out of the cold snap. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
so
So yeah, don't chase your deer around.
yep.
Let them relax.
Hmm.
Let them do their deal, and don't feed them anything dumb. They'll eat.
anything,
They'll eat
anything,
whatever they want.
anything dumb. Yeah, they'll
Don't
go eat
don't.
bark off of trees.
Hey,
A lot of people don't know that. I'd like to hear some comments if people knew that deer eat bark off of trees. I'd really comment down below if you guys knew that.
I don't think I've ever witnessed it. If I did, maybe I thought they was like just sniffing around. I don't
Yeah,
know,
I've seen them eat bark off trees.
but I've never seen them eat the bark.
Yep, bark off of trees.
It blew my mind when I seen them when I filmed that buck last year, plucking them ferns out of the ground and turning it over in his mouth and eating the bulb off the bottom.
Hmm.
That just blew me away.
He
It
needed
was
something.
there was something in that root. He wanted to eat that root. But now he's
Yep.
probably down there digging it back up right now and eating the green top.
Probably. All right.
All right, that would be 109.
Yeah. What not to do in the brutal cold. Let the deer do their thing. Let them go.
Yeah.
Man, Trump Day.
Trump Day.
Happy man. See you guys on podcast 110.
See ya.
Later.